What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the F Word on the Fantasy Sports Network, Channel 147, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Channel 366, Virginia, West Virginia. Hey, Maryland, we're there too. Tune in. If you're listening to the F Word on the computer, you can follow us on the F Word. That's where you go to iTunes and Stitcher and download it, rate, subscribe, leave a comment. Feel free to go to DennisFarrellRadio.com. That's where you can kind of find all my work, from Fox Sports Detroit to the F Word to the Fantasy Sideline Show to my Twitter and Facebook. Follow me on Twitter, by the way, at Dennis77Farrell. But today we're talking fantasy baseball. Joining me is a good friend of mine from the Fantasy Insiders. You can follow him on Twitter at FantasyBrad. It's Brad Costello. What's going on, buddy?
What's up, Dennis? Looking forward to tonight. It's the first official fantasy baseball show that I'm going to be doing in 2015, so let's see how prepared I am.
Wow. You know what? I can make many "it's your first" jokes, but I'm going to pass them all by.
Hey, pop my cherry.
Hey, there you go. Thank you. Hide your kids. Brad Costello's on the show. Anyways, Brad, it's been probably the most active offseason I've ever seen in baseball. Ever to me. It was exciting. At first, I was dreading baseball season. I won't even lie to you. I love baseball. I love fantasy baseball. But going into the season, I was dreading it. And then all of a sudden, the wheels started moving. The hot stove got hot, and just people were flying off the shelves, trades left and right. And I'm sucked in. I won't lie. It was like by the third day of the winter meetings, I'm like, I'm back. Let's do this.
Yeah, and it's not just, small-name players getting traded, minor league guys you don't care about. There are major players changing teams through free agency and through trades. I mean, just in the last couple days, Dexter Fowler gets shipped over to the Cubs. Yovani Gallardo gets sent down to Texas. God knows they need all the pitching help they can get. And, of course, you have the $220 million contract being signed by Scherzer and the Nationals, and that opens up all sorts of rumors about them considering trading Steven Strasburg. So, yeah, this is, from a major piece changing team standpoint, easily one of the most active off seasons I've ever seen. And, yeah, it's totally grabbing everyone's attention.
I've mentioned it in the few fantasy baseball podcasts I've done already this year, but one of the bigger moves that I really like, and I think he could, unless there's someone that breaks a leg off and comes back and is an MVP, but I think Jason Heyward could be in contention for comeback player of the year. St. Louis is a magical place, as I have said before. His ADP right now is super duper low. I really think Jason Heyward is going to be that mid-round player that gets drafted that could be a top 25 player.
I agree with you completely. We have to remember, only a few years ago, Jason Heyward was considered the top offensive prospect in the world. It literally, just before the Trout and Bryce Harper excitement took off, this was the guy. He's still young, very young, and he's coming from a team that was basically poison. Every offensive player they had, not named Evan Gattis, underperformed to a fantastic amount. And to think that Jason Heyward is a guy capable of 20-plus home runs, capable of 20-plus stolen bases. He's hit upwards of, 290, and in the minors they thought he was a guy that could challenge for batting titles. I don't know how realistic that is anymore. But this is a young guy who's now in a real baseball town, on a team that has good direction, good coaching, and no Uptons anywhere. So, yeah, I love him as a mid-round value this year. One of the sites that I've been using to get kind of a jump start on my own rankings has Heyward down at the 38th overall outfielder. He's not even a top 100 player on this list. That is crazy.
That's ridiculous. He's come back. What do we expect from Josh Donaldson? He goes from the Oakland Athletics to the Toronto Blue Jays last season. He was a .255 hitter, 93 runs scored, 29 home runs, 98 RBIs, 8 stolen bases. It's hard to project a player like Josh Donaldson, who kind of came out of nowhere to begin with. And, Oakland is one of those teams that is phenomenal with getting the last drop of talent out of a young player before shipping him out. And to me, for them to trade Josh Donaldson, kind of like they did, for a fantasy baseball owner, it's alarming. I'm concerned that you're going to see a bigger drop in his numbers come this season?
Well, you know what? Most of the time, you're right about the A's squeezing out every last bit of elite talent they can before shipping a guy on. But there have been some pretty noticeable exceptions. Of course, Matt Holliday went from Oakland to Colorado, where he was an MVP caliber monster, and then he played in St. Louis. You have also Yoenis Cespedes that got shipped over to Boston, who I'm very interested in this year. The guy really does have otherworldly power. It's just a question of can he put it together in the regular season. I really have been surprised by the A's this offseason. Normally I watch him and go, well, Billy Beane's the smartest guy in the room, and I can sort of see what he's thinking. I don't really get it this year. He's either taken that step to the next level or I have just fallen off and I am just completely wrong. But I didn't like that Donaldson trade. I don't understand where their offense is going to come from. Look how much power they've shipped out just in the last 2 years. Carter, Cespedes, Donaldson. You very realistically have 80 home runs that left. Where are those 80 home runs going to come from, Dennis?
I don't know, but going back to Josh Donaldson, probably before this trade, I would have had him in my top 5 at third baseman. I personally have dropped him out to about 7. You know what? I'm one of those few people that believe Chris Davis will have a turnaround. Not the monster year he had 2 years ago, and not the horrible year he had last season, but I think he'll still put it together a better year than Josh Donaldson does. I have Anthony Rendon ahead of Josh Donaldson now, and I kind of I'm toying with the idea of Todd Frazier above Josh Donaldson.
All right, well, I don't know that I'm going to go along with you on Todd Frazier. Chris Davis, I definitely have above Donaldson, and just like you, I actually am expecting Davis to kind of split the difference between his last 2 years. I see him as a 40 home run guy, I see him as a 100 RBI guy, and I see him as like a 280 guy. 260 to 280 on a good day. I just don't think he's going to hit 236 again. And I definitely think that if he can do 36 home runs with a 236 average, in the 40s with a 260 average should be a no-brainer. Rendon, I love the balance. Speed and power. You got to love it.
I will say this about Chris Davis, going back to him for a second. I think he has 35 to 40 home run potential playing a full year. 100 RBIs, I'm 100% with you. 80 runs scored in that lineup, easy. The batting average becomes tricky. Me personally, I would say 265, 270 would be where I would put my expectation lines. And if he hit over, great. If he hit a little bit under, well, you know what? At least the rest of the categories will be there for you with Chris Davis.
Well, yeah, we're both assuming that he's not going to be as bad as he was in 14. And in 14, he got you 79 runs, scored 95 RBIs, 36 home runs with that 236 average, and he did it in only 500 at-bats. You figure he's going to get about 10% more at-bats if he can stay healthy. So just by 10% more at-bats, that puts him at 40 home runs. That puts him at about 85 to 87 run scores. That puts him over 100 RBIs, and we both expect him to hit 30 points higher. So, yeah, the question I would have for you is, Josh Donaldson on most lists that I see have him somewhere in that 3 to 5 overall range at third base. Mm-hmm. They have him ranked ahead of Evan Longoria, who has been a mainstay at the top or right behind Miguel Cabrera in the third base rankings for years. What are you thinking about Evan Longoria?
You know what? It's health with Evan Longoria. It really seriously worries me. I don't know what to expect from Evan going into the season health-wise. You look at his past stats, you look at his projections. There's just something about Evan that doesn't add up to me. And for a guy like that in third base, is not overly deep. As I pull up the third base, 2014 stats here, third base is a position where you will find a couple guys that will fall. You'll find a couple guys that will come back. Here's a guy. I'll backtrack a little bit on the games played. He surprised me. But a 253, 22 home runs, 91 RBIs, where are the RBIs going to come from? I don't trust the RBIs.
Yeah, I don't trust the offense around him, which is surprising because if you think back the last 5 years or so, there really hasn't been any doubt about the offensive talent in Tampa. I'm just not really convinced. And you understand they brought in Will Myers, who, from a fantasy standpoint, certainly disappointed last year. Does he take that next step and become the elite offensive prospect he was going to be? Does Desmond Jennings step up and become Carl Crawford 2.0 like we all thought he would in 2009 and 2010 when he was tearing up double and triple A? A lot of questions in that offense.
You know what? I am not a Desmond Jennings fan. There is nothing about him to me that gives me any real redeemable fantasy qualities. He's a potential kind of guy. But when we come back on the F Word on the Fantasy Sports Network with Fantasy Brad at Fantasy Brad Costello from the Fantasy Insiders, myself, Dennis Farrell, we will talk some more. There's another player that I really want to bring up here that I am totally concerned about. It's Justin Upton, who was everybody's fantasy darling last season. But when we come back here on the F Word of Fantasy Sports Network, Channel 366, Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland, Channel 147, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, all of Canada, guys, we will talk Justin Upton. We will get through some fantasy baseball talk. So stay tuned. It's time to pay the bills. All right, we're back. Fantasy Sports Network, the F Word. Dennis Farrell here alongside Brad Costello. You can follow him at Fantasy Brad, and you can check out the podcast, The Fantasy Insiders. Great site there. But before we went to break, and of course, if you missed it, you can always go to iTunes and Stitcher. It's kind of on demand. You can type in the F Word, find us there, and you can, if you missed any show, you can go back and listen, take it anywhere. But Brad, before we left, we were talking about Justin Upton, a guy that, you know what, I am absolutely low on this season. Going in, I don't know if I were to pull up some outfield rankings. I'm not sure that there's too many guys that I would take him over in the top 25. Brad, what do you think about that?
I don't think I'm as low on him as you are. I mean, he had 163 strikeouts last year. He strikes out once a game, which makes him the consistent and good Upton brother when it comes to contact. But even with that horrible strikeout rate, even with his batting average down at a disappointing 269, he still got you 27 home runs, 9 stolen bases, 89 RBIs, and 85 runs scored. Now, I think that this Atlanta offense is going to be quite a bit worse this year. Gaddis was a very solid producer. You and I both like Jason Hayward, who no longer in town. So I do think that some of those supportive numbers, the runs and the RBIs, could be down. But I do think that, 25 home runs, 10 stolen bases, and 275 are pretty reasonable baseline. So I would have him somewhere in that 15th to 20th overall outfielder at this point, making him an outfield 2 in my mind.
I would agree, and I get what you were doing there. If he was, those were pretty great stats, and those were his early projections if he was still in Atlanta. Unfortunately, Justin Upton goes to this place called San Diego, which is horrible. But trust me. But, if we were to redo those stats, I loved those projections if he was still in Atlanta. Those were great. But going to San Diego, I would be shocked if he hits more than 25 home runs. I would be shocked because, despite whether, that's still a huge ballpark. Matt Kemp is still injury prone. I don't care what you tell me. To me, Justin Upton going over there, just not what I want. Not the fantasy player I want. I think he has under 100 RBIs this season. I think he has under 25 home runs. I would say the 270 batting average is going to be legit though.
Yeah, I mean the power numbers will be down. He's playing in a bigger field. And I do apologize. My notes are all over this. I said first baseball show of the year. But the notes are very clear. The quality of the lineup is nowhere near as good as last year. So the runs and RBIs I expect to drop off. And if the power drops down in the low 20s, I think then the stolen bases go up. Instead of 10 stolen bases, 15 stolen bases. But I still think they do outfielder to value. And as a guy with wheels playing in a big field like that could see his batting average climb a little bit more. I mean, Cameron Maybin hit 290 plus in that field. That guy's terrible.
No, I get it. But, my concern is I think that lineup is fool's gold. San Diego started off the free agent and the trade frenzy this season, and everybody's like, we love him, this is going to be awesome. But, I sit back and look and think, did they really do all that much for me to fall in love with this team? And to me, no. We'll move on. We can talk San Diego all day long, and we'll probably will on future episodes. But another guy I want to talk about whose draft stock has been going up like crazy is J.D. Martinez from the Detroit Tigers, a once proud Houston Astro prospect who was released. Detroit Tigers won the waiver wire bidding, brings him into season batting .315, 23 home runs, 76 RBIs. Brad, look, I like J.D. Martinez. I think the batting average may not be legit. I'm not a huge fan of guys that come, and I don't want to say the word J.D. Martinez came out of nowhere because he was a huge prospect. But I worry about batting averages. When a guy comes out and bats .315 and you look through what he was projected to do or what he could do, and he's a 280, 270 hitter, .315 is an alarming stat, but the 23 home runs, the 76 RBIs, I expect all those numbers to jump up even more this season. The batting average, not quite sure.
No, I expect the batting average to drop off. You have to expect the power numbers to climb because he only played 123 games last year. He's going to play 30% more games this year. So if you look at just proportionate increase in production, that makes him a 30 home run guy, a potential 100 RBI guy. And remember, we are talking about a Detroit team that saw Delman Young driving 100 runs only about 4 years ago. And last year he wasn't even in the major league. Although he did just get re-signed, which I find interesting. Yeah, J.D. Martinez was huge. He is the reason I won the Fantasy Insider Show Listener League last year because he was my waiver pickup that saved my season. And a guy that I like a lot, but I don't think there's any way he repeats that 315 average. I think that was very fluky. I think you have a lot of guys who are polished hitters when they first arrived, if you will. And I know he played before, but when he arrived in Detroit, it seemed like pitchers didn't know how to handle him. You're not going to run into that situation this year. There's a whole lot of tape and a whole lot of strategy as far as how to handle him.
If you had to put a projection on the bat, and it's hard to do, especially this early, would you say over under 280 this coming season?
I would say probably right around 285, so just a little bit higher. Now remember, that's 30 points lower than he hit last year. So it's a big drop-off. But that's still a very good average. You realize the average MLB batting average last somewhere around 285. The guy that hits 285, that's a big plus in that category for you and your fantasy team.
Let's talk about another player who has gone from one team to another. It's Hanley Ramirez, who comes back home to Boston. If you're watching the TV show on the Fantasy Sports Network, I'm actually wearing my Boston Bruins jersey. I'm excited and down to the NHL All-Star game this weekend. But Hanley Ramirez, here's another guy whose real value has always kind of been stolen bases. Now, I don't know the last time Hanley had a good stolen base season. He had 14 last season, but to me, the days of 20-plus stolen bases are gone. Going to Boston, Boston's a tricky team where, they have some sneaky speed, and when you don't think they use it, they use it. Hanley Ramirez, though, is another year older, coming off a 283, 13 home runs, 75 RBI. Is there any way Hanley Ramirez returns back to a 2020 guy?
I think there is a way. My big concern with Hanley Ramirez is the shift to the outfield going to have an impact to his offensive production. There's a lot of guys when they're taken out of their comfort zone, when they're taken out of their position. or even when they're taking the team that they were playing for. This guy's going in front of new fans, and he's going to be playing in the outfield. Like you can't change more dramatically than he is going to have to deal with. So is it possible that he's a 2020 guy? Absolutely. He has MVP talent. Even as he's getting older, and he's a guy last year that put up massive numbers. I love the acquisition of the talent of the Red Sox. I'm not a Red Sox fan. I'm a Phillies guy. I don't understand the signing. If you were looking for a great offense for the outfield, sign an outfielder. Sign a natural outfielder who doesn't have a transition, or keep you in a suspense. Find speed somewhere else. Bettis is going to give you power production. I question this signing, but if Hanley can make the transition, and he does have the kind of to be able to, he has the wheels to cover the ground, he's got a solid arm. It'll be a huge boost for that Red Sox offense in 2015. Having this guy, I just do have some concerns.
I will say this: I did not like the Cespedes trade to Detroit, where we got Porcellos. That broke my heart as a Red Sox fan, and living in Detroit, I was happy for the Tigers. I thought they could have done better in that deal. I almost feel like they got fleeced. They basically traded two guys 1-for-1, and I know Boston's big problem right now is pitching, but I think you could have gotten better. Hanley Ramirez, it's good to see him back. I always wondered, what if he stayed? Who would he be? Now we're getting a different Hanley Ramirez than what we had. If I had to throw projections down, now before I throw this projection down, and I may be remembering right or wrong, but wasn't Hanley the guy who threw a fit when he couldn't play his natural position 4 or 5 years ago, or am I thinking about somebody else?
No, Hanley has fits for it. Hanley had a very prideful guy earlier on in his career. It seems like as he's gotten older, and as he's dealt with different teams and tried to change the position, he's accepted inevitability that as he gets older, he's not going to remain a shortstop. But it just
right.
Well, like I said, love the guy. Would love to have him in Philadelphia. Got out of third baseman. Really, since Dave's in the early '90s. But I don't love the move. And Porcello's a guy. There's always been tons of potential. He's a better real world than fantasy because he doesn't throw a lot of strikeout. But man, I don't understand that. You have to go through Detroit to get to the World Series. Theoretically, the Red Sox always consider themselves World Series contenders. Why do you make a strong offense longer? Just to get a marginal upgrade in pitching, and then go and spend all this money for an infielder to outfield to replace the Cespedes he gave away. I'm very confused.
If I were to have to project Hanley Ramirez numbers going into this season, I think he would be a 2020 guy. I think he will be an 80-plus RBI guy. If you're taking Hanley Ramirez strictly as a shortstop, I would take him above Troy Tulowitzki. I don't trust Tulowitzki's health. The idea of him being in pinstripes, which I don't know if that's I think that's more of a question of when over if. But to me, Hanley Ramirez is by far the best shortstop right now in fantasy baseball.
I would say that Desmond, at least an argument for him at shortstop. Because there are less in my mind as far as consistency, because he's not changing teams and he's not changing the lineup. He's not changing the stadium and everything. But if we want to talk about upside, Hanley Ramirez is the number one guy in my mind also. Because Tulowitzki, he's amazing. But can you really project more than about 400 at bats? No. At least I can't. And Ian Desmond and Hanley Ramirez are the two guys at shortstop are legitimate 20 guys.
All right, when we come back, we'll talk more about other shortstops. We will touch on Ian Desmond. We'll wonder what we'll get out of Dee Gordon going forward. We'll probably just hit on shortstops the rest of the show. So I'm pretty interested. To me, it's one of these positions that over the last couple of years have been super thin, but it seems to be getting deeper and deeper now. Or is it? So we'll be back here on the F Word, the Fantasy Sports Network. You can follow us on, Twitter at Dennis77Farrell. Brad Costello at Fantasy Brad, and we'll be right back. Time to pay some bills, guys. All right, we are back. The F Word. What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us. Follow the F Word on Stitcher and iTunes. Rate, subscribe, download, leave a comment. Take us everywhere you're going. That's let me entertain you. Well, we got some great group of guests coming up. Dan Duquette should be on, hopefully this month, if not early next month. Travis Hafner will be back on again. Kevin Euclid, which I'm really excited about, will be on, and we're still doing some fantasy baseball podcasts too, so look at the stream. Also head over to Blog Talk Radio and the Fantasy Sports Network. That's getting back going. I'm really excited about that, and that's where I do the live call-in show, so if you have questions, you can head over there, DennisFarrellRadio.com. Brad, before we talk about shortstops, do you have anything you want to promote for a second?
Well, as you said earlier, the best way to find me is on Twitter at FantasyBrad. You can also head over to my website, FantasyInsidershow.com, where we have some articles from a great group of writers. But the crux of the site is our website. Is our podcast, the Fantasy Insider Show, which is hosted by Joel Henner and myself. We talk fantasy baseball. We talk fantasy football. We also talk about movies and TV, and we curse a little, and it's fun. It's a good time. Guys hanging out, talking out.
Let me ask you, who are some of the guests you guys have coming up this month?
We got some good guests coming up this month. And hopefully, if all goes according to plan, we will be broadcasting those shows on that Fantasy Network over on Blog. You guys can all hear it there and on iTunes as well. But we have the great Corey Schwartz from MLB in the stats department. Pardon me. Jason Collette is going to be there. The fantastic, amazing, incomparable Dennis Farrell joining us. Michael Brantley's agent, also a stand-in and a good friend of the show. Joshua Cousin will be on. And we have a handful of other guys as we do our fantasy February push, trying to get excited about the upcoming.
All right, cool. All right. Shortstops. We've touched on Tulowitzki's health and health issues to me. Tulowitzki and I've said this, Carlos Gonzalez are both like Darren McFadden, where somehow these guys are always taken in the top of the first round and shouldn't be. Darren McFadden many years was going first overall, first 5, first 10. Then finally people catch on to this injury act. But these are two guys that I'm just totally avoiding, a la Derek McFadden, of course, but we're talking Troy Tulowitzki and Carlos Gonzalez.
No, absolutely. I try and avoid very injury-prone players like the fact over the last couple we've also dealt with looming potential suspension. A couple of years ago, we of course had the Ryan Braun rumors that ended up derailing, and a lot of the guys that this scandal I found this safer player in that with those picks of yours, it saves seasons. Literally saves seasons. You can have a third or fifth round guy get injured and it hurts. But it's not crippling. It's very hard to recover when your opponent has top 10 talent and don't. So in the first round, I'm definitely not considering actually anyone in Colorado at this point because the guys' talent are injury. I mean, Cargo, you really got to figure out about 475 at-bats a year, and Tulo down at 400 at-bats? No, I'm sorry. Neither one of those guys comes near the top 10 for me.
Now let's move on to a guy who has multi-position eligibility: shortstop, right field, left field, second base. From Tampa Bay to Oakland, Ben Zobrist last season, he batted .272, 10 stolen bases, 52 RBIs, 10 home runs, 83 RBIs, in what was a very disappointing season where everybody thought, all right, breakout. Ben Zobrist is going to be the it factor now. I think going to Oakland is going to help him. I don't trust the home runs in Oakland with Ben Zobrist. If he had 10 last season, I think at best, maybe, if I were to project off the top of my head, he had 12 in his best season where he batted .275. I would say 12 again. I think most of them will come on the road. I think this is a guy that could easily have another 10, 14 stolen bases. 272 seems a very legit batting average. I might even bump it to 275, 276. The RBI should go up some. At last season, 52. 2013, Ben Zobrist had 71. I would give him 70 RBIs again. I'm high on Ben Zobrist going to Oakland.
Yeah, I like Ben Zobrist. But you have to remember, he's 33 years old. He's not at the point in his career where he's going to take a step to the next level. Yes, 6 years ago, he had a home run breakout season where he hit 290. But he hasn't hit 5 since then. He had a couple of 20 home runs, 2011 and 2012. That's when he was 29 and 30. Since then, his home run production has dropped off from 20 to 12 to 10. His stolen bases have dropped from 14 to 11 to 10. RBIs have dropped. Runs have dropped off for the most part. Do I think he's solid at it? And do we covet those multi-position eligible guys when they're eligible in positions, the second and shortstop? Absolutely. And is Zobrist a guy that you could see cranking a few extra runs and getting up to 15, or running a little bit more on an aggressive team and getting you 15 bases? Sure thing. But realistically, I see him at 10 to 12 home runs, 10 to 12 stolen bases, 75 runs, 70 RBIs, 270 guy, which at shortstop is solid.
All right. I'm kind of catching on with you. I tell you what, we're running a little behind on breaks. We're going to take another quick one here. We still have one more before the end of the show. We'll take this quick break, come back. We're going to talk Dee Gordon. Very intriguing to me. I know everybody's darling. To me, Dee Gordon is just kind of like the next I wouldn't use Billy Hamilton. So when we come back here on the Fantasy Sports Network, the F word, we'll talk a little Dee Gordon. We'll do some promoting, and we'll do some more fantasy baseball talk. Thank you guys so much. Time to pay the bills. All right, we're back. Fantasy Sports Network, Channel 147, Channel 366, Virginia, West Virginia, and parts of Maryland. Talking fantasy baseball with Brad Costello. Fantasy Brad on Twitter. The Fantasy Insiders, look them up. Great podcast. I can't wait to be on it this month or next month. You can also follow the F Word on Stitcher and iTunes. Feel free to go over there, rate, subscribe, leave a comment. It helps the algorithms and helps us move up the rankings. And, if you don't, Brad's an angry man. He may slap around your uncle or something, and I'm going to have to hold him back. But, Brad, for the break, we were teasing Dee Gordon, who last season, 289, 64 stolen bases, 34 RBIs, 2 home runs, 92 runs scored. Now, here's the thing about Dee Gordon that concerns me. He's going to Miami. I'm not worried about the home runs. I'm not worried about the RBIs. We're not drafting Dee Gordon for that. It's the batting average in the stolen bases and the runs scored. I think the runs scored, 92, could be legit. But I thought, going off the top of my head, didn't Dee Gordon have some sort of ridiculous number of, infield base hits? And to me, infield base hits are lucky. I think the batting average just dropped. I think the stolen bases just have to drop. 64, I don't think it's unrealistic to do it again. I really expect 40 to 50 stolen bases out of Dee Gordon this season.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't think that the stolen bases are going to drop off all that much. This is something that we talked about a lot. Dee Gordon at the start of the 2014 fantasy season, because everyone was really high on Hamilton, and Dee Gordon was getting overlooked. He had an ADP after the 15th round. But you looked at the guy, threw about 170 professional games. From 2011 to 2013, Dee Gordon had 66 stolen bases in what was basically one full season's worth of at-bats. 2014, 64 stolen bases. The batting average was higher than we expected, being that Dee Gordon's inability to get on base in 2013, why he didn't catch, and why he didn't stick at the level. I will say this. If you remember, after about a month and a half, 6 weeks or so into last season, D. Gordon was on pace for over 100 stolen bases and was hitting about 330. So a lot of that correction that you talked about, the batting average dropping down and the production slowing down, we started to see that half of last year. So I'm going to agree with a lot of what you said. I think his batting average is going to be more of a 260, 270 guy. Yeah, he does have the speed to turn what are traditional groundouts by most guys into a single because he is just blisteringly fast. Yeah, I don't think he's a 290 hitter. I don't think he's ever going to be a 290 hitter. You're talking about a guy. Hits at the top of the lineup. Only had 31 walks last year with 107 strikeouts. Paints the picture of an impatient leadoff hitter, which is never what you want. That being said, I live in South Florida. I saw what the Marlins did last year. I was surprised at every single step by how much better they were expected. Because on paper, they look like a train wreck.
So let me ask you this then. Draft day comes. Do you take D. Gordon or Ben Zobrist?
Honestly, it's down to what my team needs are. This is the worst thing to say, some of the rights articles and such. But I actually follow rankings when I do a draft. I'm a very firm believer that outside of round one, all of your drafts should be reactionary. Shouldn't really plan because how can you know 4 or 5 rounds into the draft, a guy like Cespedes, who you think could be a 35 homer guy, could be sitting. How do you know you're going to end up getting a lot of speed because Jacoby Ellsbury is sitting there in the third or fourth round, which you weren't expecting? Well, if I get a guy like Ellsbury in the early rounds, yeah, D. Gordon's not really in the middle rounds. A guy like Zobrist, I believe I can count on to double runs. And I would like the speed also. Honestly, I would take a 50 guy over a 10 guy though.
Let's say, for the purpose of fake rankings here, and let's say you're not really looking for any one stat. We're just in a vacuum, one for one. Would you rather have Ben Zobrist or D. Gordon?
Honestly, I think I would take D. Gordon. I think the batting average is similar. I see both of them around 270 guy. I think D. Gordon's going to have more runs. I think D. Gordon is going to have exponentially more stolen bases, like 4 times stolen bases, 10 to 12 stolen bases for Zobrist, 40 to 50 for D. Gordon, which is still a drop-off. And in exchange for that substantial increase in stolen bases, increase in runs, I'm willing to pay the price for RBI and home runs. It's easier to find runs and home runs later in the draft.
Oh, that's interesting. I think I would go Ben Zobrist just because there's a comfort factor. I know, even in Oakland, Ben Zobrist is probably going to get me those same stats. I think there are a lot of question marks around D. Gordon going into the season that just concern me. But aside from that, would you go D. Gordon or Danny Santana, who had a breakout season for Minnesota, eligible at shortstop, second base, had a very good year, by the way. You look at the kid last season, what did he have? He batted .319, 20 stolen bases, 7 home runs, 40 RBIs. He had about 27 doubles and 405 at-bats last season. I may lean more towards a Danny Santana over a D. Gordon. You're going to get Danny way later in the draft anyways. I do believe he has 300 potential. 320? No way. 315? Probably not a chance. 305, 304, 306? I think that's all legitimate stats.
I think Danny Santana is a much better value. Certainly because you can wait and get him later. I would tell you this. No problem waiting until we're a little bit further in the draft because there are a couple of those guys that are potentially diamonds in the rough. In the 10 to 12th round range, to reach 6. And I really do think Santana, with that higher batting average, with more stolen bases, Zobrist, but fewer, with probably close to about the same number of home runs as Zobrist, I think Santana's the highest ranked of the three at the end of this season. And I like that he also has outfield eligibility. So great positional flexibility. He gives you good speed. 10 to 12 home run potential. 75 to 80 scores, probably about 50 RBIs and a 300 average. Sign me up. Santana's the guy.
I like that. All right, guys, we're going to take the last break. When we come back here on the F Word Fantasy Sports channel, we're going to do the promotion part of the show. Don't go anywhere, and if you missed any bit of the F Word here on the Fantasy Sports Network, feel free to go over to iTunes and Stitcher or Blog Talk Radio and download it. You can do it on like it's on demand. We hit on some great topics. I think this was a pretty short stop, heavy show. But stay tuned. We'll be right back in just 2 and 2. All right, we're back. The F Word Fantasy Sports Network, channel 147, channel in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, channel 366 in Virginia, West Virginia, parts of Maryland. If you're in Canada, you can find it anywhere, but I don't know. I think every channel is that up there in Canada. You guys are so crazy up there on the hat. Was it the hat of the United States? They call you guys. Anyways, welcome back. So, Brad, we hit on a lot of shortstops. You know, a lot of stuff going on with you guys with getting your show ramped up. Are you guys going to still do any fantasy football, or are you guys just dead and gone with that?
I'm going to tell you honestly, in my way, fantasy football would be 12 and a half months a year. It would be nonstop. And as an Eagles, there's no shortage of Philadelphia Eagles complaints, crying, bitching, pardon my French, because I really hate the amount of control we're turned over to our coach Chip Kelly and the inevitable mistake that he's about to make trading away Nick Foles cheaply to go after his comeback Mariota. So yeah, plenty of talk still to come, but ramping up to baseball season is going to be about 95% baseball, and it's going to be one, two, sometimes even three shows a week. Because we'll start doing it an hour on a position. So you'll get one position per show as it's leading into draft season, so that we can really dissect, and not just look at the stars, but also look at, do you want J.J. Hardy or do you take Xander Bogaerts? And is Didi Gregorius even going? Things like that. So yeah, I like the position heavy shows, and I think that everyone should go out and give positive ratings to Dennis shows, so that his information gets spread all over the world. We want to help championships. We want to tell everyone, unless it's people that you play against, and then you want just you.
All right, where can people find your show? Everything like that.
FantasyInsiderShow.com or on iTunes. The Fantasy Insider Show, and hopefully soon to be back on Blog Talk Radio's Fantasy Sports Network.
Well, there you go. And guys, as always, here in February, I'll start ramping up my Fox Sports Detroit videos here on the Fantasy Sports Network. If you don't have the network and you're listening on Stitcher, iTunes, and you want to know more about it, go over to FantasySportsNetwork.com. It's great. You can watch the television feed straight from the website. You can follow me on Twitter at Dennis77Farrell, Farrell. You can follow me on Facebook. Also, shoot me a friend request. Just all I ask is Facebook, send me a message. Say, hey, saw you here, saw you there, saw you wherever. I want to be friends. We can be friends, guys. That's how nice I am. But as always, Stitcher, iTunes, the F Word. Thank you guys so much. It's been a fun show. I'll be down at the All-Star Game, so look for my show-offy pictures that so many people absolutely hate from me. But sometimes when you have a once-in-a-lifetime experience, you just got to take the shot. That's what they say. Take the shot. Brad, thank you, buddy, so much for hanging out with me tonight.
My pleasure. Happy to do it. Hope to do it again. And take all those pictures. I got shots of me from this pitch and a Marlins game on my Facebook.
There you go, guys. That's the F Word. Thank you so much. We'll see you hopefully next week, guys. Enjoy.